Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another post-match review. As you might know, West Ham actually pulled off this one today. Thought it was going to be 0-0, but somehow managed to pull it off in a dramatic finish. As always, I'm Chris, and I'm joined by Irish Tommy. How you feeling, mate?
Feeling good, Chris. Feeling good. 3 points in the bag. Always nice to get a win before the international break. You don't have to stew on a poor result for 2 weeks. So,
Yeah,
and we're moving in the right direction in the table. So,
yeah,
pretty happy with.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I keep forgetting that this was the last one before the international break, so it is nice to
Yeah.
go in on a high note. Obviously, every win is a good result. And as we were talking before, 2020 is just weird with seeing Southampton at the top of the table. So, as long as West Ham are out of the relegation zone, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, we're quite comfortable. Very comfortable in the table, thankfully. It would be nice, in the final third of the season, not to be looking over our shoulders and worrying about potentially going down. And at the moment, fingers crossed, it looks like we'll be in that position. So far, so good. I mean, given the fixtures we've had,
Yeah,
we've done pretty damn well. It could have been much worse than where we are right now. So overall, we've got to be quite happy.
yeah, yeah. I actually think I'm due to go on to hammer the point with Charlie and Raymond here soon because we said that we were going to do a update after the first 7. We predicted the first 7, so I think we're due for that one soon, just to see how well we did. But I'm actually feeling very good. I've talked to you a little bit before on this, but I actually had to watch this match from work today, and I work at Express Clothing, where it's like my second job. It's a retail store, so I got to watch the first 80 minutes, so I didn't get to see the goal or the penalty live. I was actually out on the floor during that time, so just seeing it now. So I'm going to have to rely on you for this a little bit, but I want to get you, before we get into that, I want to get your immediate reactions. Who were your favorite players of the game? Who could have done better? All those kind of things.
There are probably a few players that could have done better. Hi, Fo. Yeah, there was a few players that could have done better. It wasn't one of our better performances this season. I think probably because it was a completely different challenge tonight. Fulham got numbers behind the ball. They packed their defense when we had possession. And so basically they were saying, you come and try and break us down, and we're going to try and catch you on the counter. Now we haven't obviously this season been used to that. Newcastle came and didn't play that way, and obviously then we played the likes of Arsenal, Wolves, Leicester, Tottenham, City, Liverpool. So we were used to being the Fulham, of being the team that was just sitting back, keeping it compact, and then hitting on the counter. So we did struggle to open them up. There was probably 2 10-minute periods at the beginning of each half where we started very quickly with a really high tempo. We really got after Fulham and we created some great opportunities. And for a game that was very frustrating, where we weren't making the breakthrough, I mean, we could actually very easily have been 2-0 up inside the first 15 minutes, and
Yeah,
we'd be having a completely different conversation. So it was a very frustrating game because we were struggling a bit to create good scoring chances for the majority of the game. And I'll tell you, coming into those final few minutes, I was incredibly frustrated. I thought, I'm going to go to bed tonight and I'm going to be all up in my own head, not able to sleep for a while because I'm going to be thinking about that bloody game and, how we weren't able to break them down.
very.
So yeah, it was mostly frustrating. Um, and then just an absolutely crazy finish in the end, which will thankfully send us all to bed happy with 3 more points in the bag. But mostly it was just frustrating. Um, we were finding it difficult. We were kind of playing the ball down one side, and then that avenue was being closed off. So we're kind of going back to the centre back, and then bringing the ball across the other side of the field and trying our luck down there, and that's getting closed off. And we're just struggling to get in behind them and in positions even to cross the ball a lot of the time. So I imagine it was frustrating for our players as well. They keep having to probe and probe and probe and trying to find a way through, and it was very difficult. And fair play to Fulham. Tactically, I thought they were very good. They got it spot on really, and they'll probably justifiably feel very unlucky to have come away with nothing from that one.
Yeah, I think too. I think a lot of it, or I always think that it's psychological. I think that there's always a lot of psychological differences in each match, obviously, and to go from a opening set of games against some of the big boys of the league to just have to floor back to the bottom against a relegation candidate, basically. I don't think that we adjusted it as well at first against our kind of opponent, but eventually we kind of settled in. Definitely could have performed better from what I had seen, but I mean, you can always find those kind of situations in every match. But as long as a win's a win, I've as an NFL fan, I'm a Steelers fan, obviously, and we're undefeated this season. Most of our wins haven't been pretty, but wins are wins. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, the important thing is to get the 3 points. We can all kind of give our opinions afterwards about what we could have done better and that we'd like to have played better and all that. But it's a lot easier having that conversation when you've got 3 points than it is when you've dropped points. So hopefully some lessons will be learned. There are lessons to be taken from that game. For when we do play a team that's going to dig in like that and get numbers behind the ball, that we're going to have to be better going forward in those games at creating openings. Now, obviously, look, having Antonio back will help. He's a nightmare. He's a nightmare for centre backs in a way that Haller just isn't. So, lessons to be learned. But it's better to be saying that having won than having lost or drawn. So, unfortunately, it wasn't too hard of a lesson to learn.
Always, Fo. Always. I always have to, because no one was expecting us to be 7-0, the last undefeated team this season. That's why. Like, I always have to. So sorry again, Tommy. Sorry.
Fine. I expect it now. So I'm glad you just got this one out the way early.
Yeah. Hey, like I said before, I have a parlay with Broncos beating the Falcons tomorrow. So, I have the table pulled up on my other screen here, and it's deceiving to see us in 11th. Like it almost feels like we should be higher, but at the same time, I'm very happy with that location. I mean, it like we all talked about, we did not see us getting hardly any points, if any, for the first basically fifth of the season, and to see us mid-table like this, with literally surrounded by the likes of Arsenal and Man City, I'm very happy so far this season.
Yeah, I would have bitten your hand off for that, the start of the season. If you said after the Fulham game you'll be in 11th. I think we also have 11 points, do we? So
yes, we have 11 points. More important for me is that we have a +4 goal differential, which I did not think that was remotely possible.
Yeah, if you'd have offered us that at the start of the season, we'd have absolutely taken that. But you have to consider the fact that, yes, we're 11th. So if you just look at the table without context, it looks like we're only so. But you have to consider a lot of the teams that are around us, and many teams that are just above us, just ahead of us in points, still have to play a lot of those games that we've already got out the way. So a lot of those teams still have to play Liverpool, Man City, Wolves, Leicester, Tottenham, Arsenal. Um, so we're ahead of the curve, as it were. So we've done really well, to be fair. It could have been a hell of a lot worse, and I know a lot of us, including myself, were expecting us to not be in very good shape at this point and kind of playing catch up. But the fact that we're not having to do that now is brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, I think anyone would have bitten your hand off for a start like that. It's still weird to me as well to see literally just above and behind us Arsenal and Man City. So I mean that just puts us in that kind of conversation. Now, granted, City have 2 games in hand, so doubtful that they're going to stay in that position. But I like where we're at. I really do.
Yeah, we have some games coming up now as well, Chris, that we can be confident about. Now you probably get a certain type of West Ham fan that's going to be all doom and gloom about the Sheffield United game because we weren't brilliant tonight. But I think the Sheffield United game will suit us better than the Fulham game, actually. Even though you could say Sheffield United are a better team than Fulham, perhaps. But Sheffield United will be at home. They need the points, so they'll be more attacking than Fulham were. They won't be as defensive as Fulham. So I think we'll have a greater opportunity to create some openings and score goals in that game than we actually did tonight. Even though we'll be away from home against a team that are probably better than Fulham, I think that game we'll probably play better in that game than we did tonight, and it would suit us a bit more, if anything.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask probably the stupidest question I'll ask tonight. Antonio, if he's fit for Sheffield, he slots right back in over Allaire, correct?
No question.
So
yeah, there's no question. I mean, it's a no-brainer, really, and it is for Moyes as well. As soon as Antonio is ready to go, he's back in. There's no doubt in that. You know what? Heller hasn't pulled up any trees since he came back in.
yes, Wally, he should be.
Yeah, Wally, we're hearing that he's ahead of schedule, and I believe he's training. He's on grass, not in full training, but he's back on grass, which is good. A player is never far away once they're back on the grass. So, so we have the international break now. We don't play Sheffield United for 2 weeks, so we've got all that time to get Antonio ready. Clearly, the injury was not a bad one. So it's great news that now whether Antonio will start against Sheffield United remains to be seen. But if he's even back on the bench, that's a huge plus for us.
This is so. I'm going to come back to your question, Trevor Blowing Bubbles, because that's actually a very good question. But I kind of wanted to follow up with that. With this last week, after the Liverpool match, we were saying that if Allaire doesn't have a good game against Fulham, if he doesn't look like he gives a shit, then that's our last chance. I didn't really. I was kind of neutral on him. He had some good moments, bad moments. Did you think he warrants like continue trying, or are you done with him?
No, I think if Antonio isn't available against Sheffield United, I think he'll play. He was okay tonight. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't great. I think it was a so-so performance from Haller. But he's probably lacking confidence too, which probably has to be factored in. But I'm trying to be fair to him because I'm not a fan of Haller. I'm just not. I have to put my cards on the table there for people listening, because some people will think I'm harsh. So I'm trying to be as fair to him as possible and put aside the fact that I don't really have any faith in him. He was okay tonight. He did quite well. But again, it's just when you put him up against Antonio and you look at what Antonio has been able to do on the pitch for us, it's night and day. And with Haller, I just don't see how we make this work long term. I don't think he's the kind of forward that's ever really going to flourish under David Moyes. I know David Moyes is saying nice things about him and he's trying to get him going, but he probably has to because Heller's kind of got to play at the moment. But I think against Sheffield United, if we can get some crosses into him, because I think that's the one way he will thrive. If you can get him in and around the edge of the box and get good crosses into him that he can attack, then I think he can be very effective. Now, to be fair, we weren't able to do that very much tonight.
No.
I thought there were some times when we had an opportunity to put the ball in, and for some reason there was a bit of hesitancy to cross the ball when we could have put the ball in, particularly from Kufal for some reason. There were times I felt Kufal could have put a ball in, and for some reason he would turn back and play the ball back. So I'm not sure what was going on there. But so Haller didn't have a huge amount to feed off. There were a couple of good balls that came in, one particularly early in the game where he headed against the crossbar. But it was a so-so game for Haller, and I know there's a lot of West Ham fans that will say, well, he doesn't get great service, and there is some merit to that argument.
Yeah.
It's not like we're giving him lots of opportunity to score, but I think it's kind of half that and half of him not doing enough for himself either. I think the movement isn't great. Like I said to you last week, Chris, I think Haller is a player who just wants everything brought to him. Whereas Antonio will go and get things. He'll go and get things, make things happen for himself. Whereas I think Antonio needs everything brought to him. So Haller needs the ball played directly to his chest, to his feet. He needs the cross to be perfect for him to make anything of it. It's like if the ball isn't perfect, he's not really the kind of player who's going to go out of his way to make it a good ball by really going after it and trying to make it happen. So I think for Haller to flourish, you have to be very, very precise with your ball into him, which is one of the things I just don't like about him. I don't think he's proactive enough in making things happen for himself. And when you look at Antonio, I mean, he's the poster child for making things happen for yourself. He just gets after everything, chases down lost causes, runs down balls into the corner, and then will turn and go. He'll lay the ball off and then go on a run again. And he's involved in everything. Whereas Haller really needs everything brought to him. So that's why I just, in the long term, I just don't think Haller's going to work for us.
Yeah, and I really can't add on too much because that's almost my exact sentiments as well. It sucks that our record signing doesn't look to be working out, but I mean that's the same way with Felipe Anderson. We could have a whole show about him too, just the two of them. But yeah, like you said, you summed it up perfectly. Going back to what Forever was saying, though, what are your thoughts if Ogbon is out for a while? Now, granted, he did walk off under his own power. It didn't look like it was too severe, fortunately, but I'm in a break. So hopefully that gives him enough time to get ready. But what are your thoughts if he's out for a bit?
Yeah, it didn't look like a bad one. So I don't think he'll be out for long. Like you said, he walked off under his own steam. He didn't appear to be limping at all. I suspect he would have tried to carry on if he'd been allowed, but I think the physios probably made the right call and said, look, let's not aggravate this and turn it into a big injury. Let's just get him off and get him healed back up, hopefully, before the international break is over. I felt bad for him because you could see when he was walking off, as he came off the pitch, he took his gloves off, he threw them down. He went straight down the tunnel. He was angry. Now, the commentator, as commentators do, they can be a bit thick, really. The they were saying, "Oh, he's really unhappy to be coming off. Doesn't want to come off." That's not the case at all. I think he knew he had to come off. I think he was really, yeah, I think he was really pissed off because he's just forced his way into the Italian side, into the Italian team. He's in the Italian squad. He's got there's internationals next week, so I think he was just really, really pissed off and frustrated now that he's gonna have to pull out of the Italy squad because of this injury. So I'd imagine that's why he was pissed off going off. But yeah, let's hope, because to answer the question, I mean, it's a huge loss if he's not there for the Sheffield United game.
Do you think Diop can fill him? Obviously, I mean, Diop is not Ogbonna. He's not as solid as Ogbonna is in the back. If he can play like he played the first season with us, I mean, he has very good potential, and he can be a good player. Last season, I was not confident with him. So I'm hoping that he can. I would not mind if Ogbonna is out for some time, if Diop can come in, reprove himself, and fight to get back in that squad.
Yeah, I mean, look, we all know we don't have another defender at the club that's anywhere near as good as Ogbonna. He's absolutely class. He's a brilliant centre back. There's a reason you have to be a very, very good centre back to be in the Italy squad, because they produce really good centre backs just for fun. So he's a huge loss. But the thing with Diop is, he should be absolutely chomping at the bit now, because he's lost his place to Balbuena. And this is his opportunity now to show what he's got, to show what he can do, to show that he deserves a place in the team. And he'll be given that opportunity now. Now, I have the same worries about him that you do, Chris. He can be mistake prone. He can look a bit nervy at times. I'm hopeful that being in a back three will help him. I know he's normally used to playing in it with just two centre backs, so he only had Ogbonna or Balbuena there with him. Hopefully, when he's got another centre back each side of him, particularly really good experienced ones like Balbuena and Cresswell, that they need to keep talking to him and keep him steady. So I'm hoping that will help him. I'm hoping that his drive to reprove himself and show David Moyes that, yes, I'm good enough to start, will mean we'll see good performances from him. But yeah, there will always be a bit of a concern there with Diop. He, like you said, he didn't progress in his second season the way we expected him to. So this is his chance. So let's hope he takes it.
Yeah. Well, and let me ask you this. This might be a bit of I'm not suggesting we should, and so it's going to be kind of a controversial question. Someone actually had reminded me. I forgot that he was even at the club now. Would you give Craig a run out?
No. Listen, if Craig Dawson is getting in the side ahead of Diop, that's David Moyes telling us Diop is leaving the club. I mean, there's no way you put Craig Dawson in ahead of Diop at this point. That would be a huge shock. It's not gonna. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not gonna happen. I mean, if Dawson was ahead of Diop in the pecking order, he would have been on the bench instead of Diop. So Diop will play. I'm certain of that, and Dawson will be on the bench. So absolutely no. I think you'd have to go a long, long way to find a West Ham fan that would throw Dawson in ahead of Diop right now.
This is a good question too. If Diop and Balbuena play really well together again, would Ogbonna get straight back in or wait his turn? Or could you see potentially a back three of Ogbonna, Diop, and Balbuena?
No and no. Oggy comes back in immediately as soon as he's fit.
I agree.
Look, Ogbonna's our best centre back, and it's not even close. Let's be honest. He's head and shoulders above anything else we've got at the club. So he comes back in. So That's a no-brainer. And here's the thing, as regard, I wouldn't be dropping Cresswell. I wouldn't even consider it. He's playing far too well, and his deliveries from those deep crosses are absolutely brilliant. And you will not get that if you have Diop or Ogbonna out on that side. None of them are good at getting forward. Cresswell's good at it because he had to do it all his career as a fullback, so he's comfortable getting forward. His deliveries are absolutely top class, and you cannot take that out of the team. Cresswell's playing far too well to get dropped. So I think when Ogbonna comes back, he will go straight back in. And then if Diop and Balbuena are both playing really, really well, Moyes is going to have a headache because he's going to have to pick between them.
I'd rather that kind of headache where everyone's playing well and it's a question of, okay, who do I drop? So, I mean, that's a good headache to have in all reality.
Yeah, you definitely want, those are the kind of headaches you prefer. But while we're on the subject, I have to say this, because I don't know if you know when I last mentioned it, but I've always liked Balbuena. I've always thought he's a really solid centre back. Okay, he's not world class. There's no bells and whistles. But I really like Balbuena. I always have. I think he's a very good centre back. Yes, you'll get the odd mistake from him, but what player doesn't make an odd mistake? And I know Moyes, when he came in, didn't really fancy him. I think Moyes, early in the transfer window, if he'd have gotten a bid for Balbuena, would have sold him quite cheaply.
I mean, that's what was.
But I'm really glad that didn't happen, because I've always liked Balbuena, and I've always felt like he's a really solid centre back. And I'm glad we didn't lose him. And I think there's no question now. I mean, it's very obvious now. He has completely changed David Moyes' mind about him. Since Moyes was kind of forced to play him through it because of injuries, Balbuena's come in and proven to David Moyes that actually I am your kind of centre back. Yeah. I'm a no-nonsense, hard-working, physical centre back. And I think there's no question he's completely changed David Moyes' mind about him. So I think Diop, even if he plays well, say he plays 3 games, plays very well in those 3 games, I think he'll still likely drop to the bench, and Balbuena will still be in there. I mean, look, Balbuena is ahead of him right now. We know that much. Balbuena is the one starting. So I think Diop has got his work ahead of him to get back in this team.
Question for you then, with the defensive lineup. Again, this is all hypothetical because we don't know if Ogbonna's out for an extended period or if he'll be back for Sheffield or what the situation is. But let's say he is out for at least the Sheffield match, and we keep the back 5 intact, or like the same formation. Cresswell obviously plays on the left. Do you put Balbuena or Diop in that middle position?
If Diop is playing against Sheffield United? Yes. Well, I think we got our answer tonight, because when Diop came on, he came on in the middle of the 3, so he was in the centre, which I think is right. I think when you have an injury and you need to change up a team, I think you should move as few pieces as possible. So the less disruption you have to the team because of an injury, the better. So it was bad enough that Ogbonna had come off and we had to bring in Diop. You don't want to compound it by shuffling players around as well, and moving them, changing their positions. So I think Diop will play in the centre, and I think it's better for Diop if he has Cresswell on one side and Balbuena on the other. Like I said a little while ago, don't want to keep repeating myself, but they're 2 experienced, good defenders who can both be talking to him and keeping him on the straight and narrow. So yeah. I think it's best all round if he stays in the centre and we have as little disruption to the other players as possible.
Yeah. And Kieran has a question for you here too. Should we ban Ben Rama from coming back to defend?
Yes. For what we've seen tonight, bless him. Look, there wasn't much in it, was there? Let's be honest. I mean, it was
I
a little.
full disclosure, I actually haven't seen. I've seen the penalty like kick, which that was hilarious in itself, but I did not see the actual foul.
Um, yeah, it was minimal contact, and Tom Kearney basically just threw himself to the ground. It
Of
was
course.
let's put it this way: there was less contact by Benrahma on Kearney than there was by Masuaku on Salah. So it was even less of a touch. Um, but apparently, any touch like that in the box now when a player goes down, it's a pen. So
Well,
yeah, I think Benrahma. I think Benrahma, in fairness, we were in a situation where we'd scored in the 92nd minute. You know, there was 2 minutes of injury time left. Basically, our entire team retreated into and around our box and basically, right, we're just going to hang on for 2 minutes and hold this 1-0 lead. And so Benrahma kind of got sucked into that as well. And he was trying to do his bit, trying to play his part and get in there and help out. But yeah, I think he should be told, you know what, maybe don't. Uh, you know, um, he's an attacking player. He's clearly not very good defensively and might do something silly. So it's probably best if he at least doesn't go into our own penalty area. At
yeah.
least stay out of there. If you're going to come back and help out defensively, Moyes probably expects it, and he wants to impress the manager by saying, "Look how I'm working for the team and helping them." But maybe don't go inside the penalty area. Stay outside. If he gives away a free kick, we'll probably get away with it. But yeah, it was a clumsy kind of a little poke of his jab with his toe, and so. But it's not entirely his fault. I mean, the fucking people are getting the softest penalties now for nothing.
Well,
And
speaking of,
interestingly, I'll tell you just an interesting point on that as a stat. As soon as the VAR people come back to the ref and asked him to go look at the monitor, I could have told you right then and there, and I would have put money on it, this is going to be a pen. Because this season in the Premier League, every single time a referee has been asked by the VAR people to go look at the monitor, they've reversed their decision. Every single time. Not once has a referee stuck with his initial decision once they've been sent to look at the monitor.
yeah, I can't explain that. That's kind of stupid. But speaking with or keeping with Benrahma as well, two things. First of all, good to see him get his first assist for the club. Second of all, can we take a moment to also acknowledge the fact that Moyes didn't make necessary substitutes past this 85th minute, and he actually did at a reasonable time in the match.
Yeah, and was it the 71st or 72nd minute or something? Made a double substitution with Benrahma and Lanzini. So that was good to see. It was a positive move where he said, okay, it's 0-0. We're being frustrated. Doesn't look like anything's happening here. So now I'm going to bring on players who might be able to open them up.
Yeah, it was 63rd and 72nd minute that we made substitutions.
Well, the first one was enforced. That was Ogbonna going off injured. But Benrahma and Lanzini came on 72nd, was it? So the funny thing is, I think Benrahma was ready to come on right after Ogbonna had gone off, right? So a minute or two later, they were looking to bring in Benrahma on. So initially, they were going to bring on Benrahma and Lanzini together. But as they were just getting ready to come on, Ogbonna went down. And so all of a sudden it's like, oh, hang on a second, don't make that sub. Let's see what's going on here. So then Ogbonna had to come off. So they substituted Diop on. So that was the end of that double substitution. But then they got Benrahma ready and were like, okay, let's just bring on Benrahma then, rather than him and Lanzini. But the ball stayed in play for so long, and I went like minutes. The ball stayed in play without going out of play. So in the end, Moyes said, "Oh fuck it, there's so much time has elapsed now waiting to get Benrahma on. Let's just throw Lanzini on now anyway, because I was going to probably bring him on at this point anyway." So we did end up then bringing both of them on. But yeah, it was really good to see. It was really good to see Moyes taking positive action where you can clearly see, okay, he's doing this to go and win the game. So he needs to do a bit more of that going forward, but it was really good to see. You wonder if he would have done that away from home. I don't know. I think the fact that we were at home and it was against Fulham, he probably thought, shit, I better, this would be a poor result if we don't beat these. I better do something. I don't think that will be something he'll do a lot of going forward. I think, as usual, he'll be very selective of when he does that. But it was a positive. I think we all wanted to see that. And let's be honest, had he not done it, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about a 1-0 win. So as Benrahma come on and got the assist and almost scored himself after coming on. So it was a tight angle, and it was a good double save from the keeper actually from him, because the rebound came back to Benrahma as well, and he hit and he hit it, and he hit it again. So yeah, it was great to see him come on with enough time to make an impact. That was great to see, and I'll be honest, I think Benrahma should start against Sheffield United.
That's where I was going next. I was going to say, because I've seen nothing but like a lot of people questioning how well Fornals did. So I'm going to say, was Fornals that bad for you? And does Benrahma come in over him against Sheffield United on the back of the international break?
Yeah, Fornals had one of his poorer games, unfortunately. Just have to be honest. I love Pablo, one of my favourite players at the club. I'm a huge fan of his, but he did have one of his poorer games today. Just wasn't at it. Now, he still worked extremely hard. He always gives you 100%.
I agree with you.
But he was just ineffective. He just wasn't able to get into the game as an attacking threat. He just never got going. He had a very frustrating night, to be honest. And I think, I think away to Sheffield United, I think I would drop Fornals for Benrahma. And it's not actually even because Fornals wasn't at his best tonight. I think, look, any player can have a game where they're not quite at it. And I wouldn't just drop them if they've generally been very good. I mean, you just accept that some games they might not be at it. But so I'm not even dropping Fornals because he wasn't great tonight. I'm dropping him because it's Sheffield United.
Yeah, that's fair.
And they're a very average team, and I think a player and I think they'll be more attacking and more positive against us than Fulham were. They won't get everyone behind the ball. Sheffield United, I think they'll come at us. I think they'll feel like they can get 3 points against us, and I think they will come out more and attack more. And I think that's an ideal game for Benrahma to punish them. He's going to pick up the ball. He's going to have space to turn and run at them. I think that game will be absolutely perfect for Benrahma to do real damage.
Yeah, that's very fair.
So I would put him in purely for tactical reasons. I want to make that clear. I love Pablo.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It gives us a full body of reference to see how well Benrahma actually does against the Premier League side in a Premier League squad. So it's kind of a test as well, because if he goes in and plays well, then you kind of have a question of, should we keep going and see how well he does? Maybe look at Fornals in another position or give Fornals a bit of a break.
Yeah, I think, again, I would use both of them tactically. I think it would depend on who we were playing for me. It depends what job you need done. But yeah, look, I think with the run of games we have coming, they just look like Benrahma games. We're playing the likes of Sheffield United, Aston Villa. We've got Leeds away. Leeds play a very open game. Very open. Again, another ideal game for Benrahma. Villa play an open attacking game, ideal for Benrahma. So I think these games are tailor made for Benrahma, and it's like you say, there are teams that are in the bottom half, apart from Villa. But Villa again, despite their league position, they had a very good start. Villa are still only no more than a decent team, so I think these games are made for Benrahma to show us what he's got. It's an ideal experiment, shall we say, to say, okay, now we're going to find out about Benrahma. We're paying all this money for you. You have this huge reputation, and everyone expects you to be really, really great. These are the games we're going to find out, because we're not throwing you in against the very best teams in the country. We're throwing you in against teams in and around us or that are below us, and that play a more open game where you will have the chance to run with the ball in space, and to go after people and get after defenses. So yeah, I think we have to run the Benrahma experiment now.
Yeah, it's a good point in the season, and that you make a very good point on that. And let me pull up our upcoming schedule here. Yeah, away to Sheffield, home to Villa, and then Man United, Leeds, Palace, Chelsea, Brighton, Southampton, and that rounds out the year. And then we're into 2021. So yeah, I mean, it is a perfect time, perfect run of games. To see how well Benrahma does, see if there's any potential for a different position, maybe for Fornals. So I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. But I do tend to agree that we need to give Benrahma a shot. We need, if he's really going to be the player that we think he is, he needs more than just 20 minutes a match.
Yeah, because ultimately, look, we've seen players, and I have to say Yarmolenko is an example. When you start them, and they get kind of 90 minutes, they're not as effective. But when you bring them on for 20 minutes against tiring defenders, they can be very, very effective. We have to make sure that in Saeed Benrahma, we have a player that we can play for 90 minutes every week, or most of the 90 minutes anyway, let's say, and who's going to be effective from the start, and isn't just going to be one of these kind of super sub teams, players who can hurt opponents because they're tiring later in the game. I think Lanzini, I suspect as well, is more of a super sub type player. I don't know. I don't think I'd want to start Lanzini week in, week out, giving him 90 minutes every week. I don't think Lanzini can be effective that way. I think Lanzini and Yarmolenko are kind of in the super sub bracket. But we need to find out if Benrahma is the real deal. And if he's the real deal, then we've got a player that we can start every game, or most games at least, and who can win us points. Because if he's the real deal and we start playing him from the beginning over these next few games, and he proves to be everything we think he is, that will just be a massive upside for us. He will win us points, and going into the new year, we will be up there in the table. He's the kind of player that can be that spark that we haven't had for a long time since Payet. No, I'm not suggesting he's going to be as good as Payet was, because he was just sensational. But even if he's kind of, like Payet light, it's still huge for us. Because we need that spark. We need that player who can make things happen, who can create something from nothing, who can go past 2 and 3 players and completely open up an opponent. So yeah, we need to play him now and find out if he is going to be that player for us. Because if he is, that's going to be just huge for us.
Yeah. That's interesting. Someone messaged me that I haven't talked to in years. Sorry about that. But yeah, I think we're kind of coming to the end on this one. I think we've exhausted just about all we have on this. So any last minute notes?
Yeah, you know what? I know there's going to be a certain amount of, and I've seen it already, a certain amount of negativity on Twitter that we weren't great tonight. And we weren't. It wasn't a great performance, and we kind of were struggling a bit and couldn't really open them up. But it's not a bad sign, that if you can find a way to nick a game, even when you're not playing great, and you can still just find some way to win it. It's still a good sign. That's still a really good win, even if it was at home to Fulham, because we were struggling a bit, and I think tactically Scott Parker got it spot on, and so he did make it very, very difficult for us. So I'm actually very happy that we were able to persevere as a team and keep going and keep plugging away and get the win. So it's all positive still, hopefully next time out against Sheffield United we'll play much better, fingers crossed. So yeah, fair play to the players. They kept plugging away, kept going at it, never gave up, and we got our 3 points. So I'm very, very happy overall.
For me, this is comment of the night. The Supreme Court has looked at allegations provided by Trump and awarded Man United a penalty.
Yeah, speaking of penalties, oh my God. That's the one thing we have to talk about before we go, Chris. What was Lookman thinking?
That was not a good penalty. I think just about everyone and their mother could have had a better penalty attempt than that one.
Yeah, no word of a lie. Like normally, in a situation like that where there's a penalty against us and it's missed or saved, normally I'm, like everyone else, like yes, and you're all, delighted. I mean, that penalty was so bad, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I didn't even make a sound. I just was literally
like. You could tell Fabianski was even shocked by it. Like he was not. It was almost so bad that it was good. Like he nearly still could have scored just because of catching Fabianski off like that.
Yeah, it was just what a bizarre decision. I mean, like, Jesus Christ. No, he did that before, He what was it, last year or the year before in a tournament playing for England under 21s?
Oh God.
He scored, but he scored from it. That's the thing. When he did it for England's under 21s, he actually hit the Panenka perfectly and actually scored from it. Keeper dived off to his right and the ball just floated right in and it looked cool as fuck.
Yeah, he has to be a West Ham fan.
But the problem for him tonight is he just didn't catch it. He underhit it. He underhit it and it just floated so slowly and barely made it to the line. I mean, Fabianski even was able to make his dive, realized it was going straight in the center, and then come back and get his hand to it. And oh man, I mean, look, you can't do that. I'm sorry, you just can't. I mean, if Fulham were already winning, and kind of had it in the bag, then fine, you'd forgive him for trying something a bit cheeky. But given the circumstances, you just can't do that. I mean, like if he, hits it hard, right, and takes like a normal penalty, and he doesn't quite catch it right, and he misses, he puts it slightly too high and it goes over, or Fabianski makes a save diving off to his right. Sure, you're still disappointed. Your fans are still disappointed in you, a little bit pissed off with the penalty miss. But at least you hit it kind of the right way and you weren't fucking around. But I'll tell you what, he's going to get serious flack from the manager, his teammates. I think the fans are all just going to be going crazy, like just saying, you can't do that, man. Not at 1-0 down in the 97th fucking minute. It was just a crazy decision. Crazy. To me, that's complete and utter self-indulgence. He was more concerned with looking cool than he
Yeah.
was with equalising for his side. And
Yeah.
that to me is kind of unforgivable.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, like, we had opened the show talking about how it was not necessarily pretty, but a win's a win, and that just, you can chalk it up to that category. Like, it doesn't matter how it happened, but a win's a win. I mean,
And we
even
weren't as, and by the way, we were not as bad as some of our fans are rattling on about on Twitter.
yeah.
By the way, we got loads of shots in. On another night, we just scored 4 goals. On another night, we just scored 4. There was some. Remember, Bowen hit an absolute fucking beauty of a volley in the first half,
Oh
which
yeah.
which Areola tipped over the bar. Heller hit the crossbar with a header. We got shots off. And there was 2 periods at the beginning of each half where we were all over them. On another night, we just scored 4 goals, Chris. It was a frustrating night because we weren't quite able to take any of our chances. But that performance wasn't as bad as some of our fans are going to be making out on Twitter. It wasn't great, we know that, but it wasn't terrible either by any means.
Yeah, that's very true. Anything else before we wrap it up here?
Yeah, I fucking hate international breaks, and I'm going to be really pissed off this time next week because there's no Premier League, and the next 2 weeks is going to feel like a bloody long time.
Yep. Well, I haven't talked to you necessarily about this, but I'll let everyone know. The Sheffield match for sure. I will not be hosting this. We'll figure out something for you, or for the show at least. I will be in Las Vegas with some friends, so celebrating the end of the semester for me. So
yeah. You'll be in the saddle.
Yeah. But so for the next,
listen, I can host the show. I'll talk to Tim. I'll host the show after the Sheffield United game, and I'll get someone to come on with me.
Yeah. So yeah, something will be figured out, sorted for this. My grandfather is calling me. Hold on. Sorry about that. I have to call him back after this now. Sorry. I was not expecting a call from him. But then, speaking of my grandfather, the next 2 shows after that, I will probably be doing the live stream, hopefully, from my grandparents' house, actually, because it will be the start of gun season, deer gun season in the state of Ohio. So
finally.
I will be, yes, thankful for that. So I will be in my grandparents' basement for that. So I go with my grandpa every year. So I will be then. So as always, thank you for joining me, Tommy. Thank you for everyone joining us in the chat. This has actually been looking at the numbers, this has been one of our most viewed shows. So I appreciate everyone for that. I will be back here shortly. Obviously, like I said, not for the Sheffield match, but hopefully for the matches after that. And then you'll have me for a couple months because I'll be on winter break. But until then, come on, you Irons.